It started with a photograph. My friend Sarah texted me one evening, asking if I had a twin. I laughed it off, knowing I was an only child. Then she sent me a picture she had taken at a local coffee shop. My smile faded. The man in the photo looked exactly like me. Same haircut, same build, even the same taste in clothes. He was sitting at a table, reading a book, completely unaware that his picture was being taken. I felt a chill run down my spine. Doppelgangers was supposedly a myth, right? A creepy coincidence. I told Sarah it was just a look-alike, but I couldn't shake the unease. A few days later, my girlfriend, Lily, mentioned seeing me at a bar downtown. I hadn't been to that bar in months. She insisted it was me, though, even describing the jacket I had worn that day. The jacket was currently hanging in my closet. I laughed it off, but now I was starting to feel paranoid. Things got worse. I started receiving texts from friends and colleagues, all saying they had seen me in places I hadn't been. Shopping malls, parks, even the work functions that I hadn't attended. Each time, the stories were the same. I was friendly, chatty, and completely myself. Except, it wasn't me. One evening, I decided to find him, my double. I started frequenting the places where he had been spotted, hoping to catch a glimpse. Days turned into weeks with no luck. I began to question my sanity. Maybe it was just a series of strange coincidences. Maybe I was overreacting. Then one night, I came home to find the lights on. I distinctly remembered turning them off before leaving. My heart pounded as I crept inside, fearing an intruder. But the apartment was empty. Nothing out of place except for one thing. A note on the kitchen counter. Stop looking for me. I felt a surge of anger. Who was this person, and why was he messing with my life? I tore the note to shreds, determined not to be intimidated. But the fear lingered. Someone who looked exactly like me had been in my home. Someone who knew I was looking for him. The next day at work, my boss called me into her office. She looked concerned, asking if everything was okay. Apparently, I had missed an important meeting the previous day. I hadn't. I was there, taking notes, participating. I even remembered the discussions we had, but she insisted I wasn't. That night, I set up a camera in my living room, hoping to catch the doppelganger in the act. I barely slept, jumping at every noise, every creak of the floorboards. In the morning, I checked the footage. It showed me walking into the apartment, looking around, and then leaving again. Except, I hadn't come home until much later. My doppelganger was real, and he was living my life. I started to lose track of what was real and what wasn't. Friends would ask about conversations I didn't remember having, places I didn't remember going. I began to isolate myself, fearing I was losing a grip on reality. One evening, while staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, I noticed something. A small scar above my eyebrow. I had gotten it in a bike accident when I was 12. I realized that if this imposter looked exactly like me, he must have that scar too. It was a small detail, but it was something only someone who had lived my life would have. Determined to confront him, I went to all places where he had been seen, asking around, showing the photograph Sarah had taken. Finally, a barista recognized him and mentioned he was a regular, always coming in around the same time each week. I waited at the coffee shop, nerves on edge. Hours passed, and then, there he was. Seeing him in person was like looking into a mirror. He saw me too, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. Then he smiled, a cold, knowing smile, and walked out. I followed him, determined to get answers. We ended up in a quiet park, and finally, he turned to face me. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded. "Who are you?" He just smiled again. "I'm you. The you that you could have been. The you that took risks, made different choices. The you that lived life to the fullest." I shook my head. "That doesn't make any sense." "It doesn't have to," he replied. "Just know this. You can't escape me. I'm always going to be there, living the life you didn't." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving me standing in stunned silence. I haven't seen him since, but I know he's still out there, living my life, making different choices, always one step ahead. If you ever see someone who looks exactly like you, don't ignore it. Don't dismiss it as a coincidence. Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't a monster or a ghost. It's the thought that there might be another you out there, living a life you never chose.